Imagine you're in, like, a high-stakes technical meeting. The board is staring right at you, the project is severely delayed, and the silence is just deafening. I mean, how do you communicate a crisis without sounding like you're totally panicking?
Yeah, that is the ultimate tightrope of corporate communication. Because you have to project total control even when things are completely falling apart behind the scenes.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So today's deep dive is built around this fascinating slide deck we found on technical communication. And our mission is to extract 5 specific English phrases from these sources that really act as strategic tools.
Right. We aren't just defining them. We're looking at the psychological weight they carry, and exactly how you can deploy them to instantly shift the power dynamics in any boardroom.
So let's just jump right into the deep end. Our first scenario is crisis management, specifically when you're failing to deliver because of, well, external factors. The phrase here is being in a bind.
Yeah, the strategic brilliance of telling a room you are in a bind is that it completely externalizes the blame. I mean, you aren't saying we messed up.
Right. You're framing the situation as a structural trap,
Yeah.
something you're just caught in.
Exactly.
That makes total sense. Like, our source deck gives a really relatable example. The primary supplier is on strike, and the backup supplier is just completely backlogged.
Right. And by stating you're in a bind, you instantly neutralize the emotion in the room. It shifts the executives from judging your competence to, well, acknowledging a shared logistical reality.
You're simply trapped by conflicting conditions. But I mean, framing the trap doesn't actually get you out of it. If you're stuck, the clock is still ticking loudly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you quickly lower the room's temperature so you actually have a minute to find an escape route?
Well, that is exactly where you deploy the second phrase, which is buy some time. And the key word to focus on there is really buy, because it's an economic transaction.
Oh, like the source example, where a team offers a temporary software patch while they investigate a root hardware failure.
Yes, and notice the mechanism there. You are literally spending resources, in this case, engineering hours, on that patch-to-purchase runway.
Right.
It tells the board, I haven't solved the core issue, but I have secured the breathing room. We need to fix it properly.
Okay, so you've bought your time with the software patch, but you obviously can't live on temporary patches forever.
No, definitely not.
You need to calculate a viable long-term fix without spending weeks on the math. And the deck suggests using a rule of thumb.
Right. This is an essential heuristic. It signals to the room that you're applying a broad, experience-based guideline just to keep the momentum going.
Instead of getting bogged down in absolute precision.
Exactly.
The source actually mentions allowing for a 15% safety margin during initial load calculations as a rule of thumb. But wait, let me pause you right there.
Sure.
If I tell my engineering lead we are using a rule of thumb for highly technical structural load calculations, they are going to have a literal heart attack.
Oh, 100%.
So how do you frame this so it doesn't sound like we're just blindly guessing?
I am really glad you brought that up, because context is just everything here. You use this phrase specifically to prevent analysis paralysis during the really early planning phase.
Ah, so you're signaling to the engineers that this is just a placeholder.
Yes, exactly. It provides just enough of a framework to build a pitch and secure a budget. You will do the rigorous math later.
I see. So you just need a solid enough estimate to convince the board to open the checkbook, which naturally leads to our fourth phrase, give the green light.
Right, and the psychological power of this phrase isn't about the literal traffic signal. It's really about the transfer of accountability.
Okay, how so?
Well, when you ask the board to give the green light on, say, that offshore manufacturing project mentioned in the deck, you are officially making them co-owners of the risk.
Oh, wow. So it changes the dynamic from I am doing this to we have agreed to do this.
Yeah.
The execution phase is officially unlocked.
Precisely. You transition from theoretical planning to actual execution with executive backing, which is a huge mental shift for everyone in the room.
That is a huge shift. But let's say you execute beautifully. You aren't operating in a vacuum, right? Your competitors see you moving, and they strike back.
Always.
And the source deck uses the phrase up the ante for this exact market escalation.
And this is where communication really becomes a weapon. Because when a competitor does something disruptive, like the example in our source where a rival launches a new warranty policy that totally shifts the industrial pump market, your team is going to feel threatened.
Yeah, I mean, they probably feel like they are suddenly falling behind.
Yes, they do. But by saying the competitor has upped the ante, you subconsciously reframe that entire threat.
Right. It's no longer a crisis we must survive.
Exactly. It becomes a new baseline challenge we must match. It shifts your team's mindset entirely from defensive to offensive.
It turns a dry corporate update into a literal call to action. Looking at all 5 of these phrases together, being in a bind, buying time, using a rule of thumb, getting the green light, and upping the ante.
Yeah, they're powerful.
You can really see how they form a complete narrative arc. They are strategic tools to navigate bottlenecks, secure approvals, and even manage team morale.
They allow you to control the story in the room. And
Right.
honestly, that is the very definition of projecting confidence.
It really is.
Yeah.
But here's a provocative thought I want to leave you with, leaning into the psychology we've discussed today.
Okay.
If our daily corporate language relies so heavily on phrases rooted in survival, purchasing time, and high-stakes gambling,
Right.
does this vocabulary subconsciously train us to view every professional project as a desperate race against the clock? I mean, it's something to ponder before your next big stand-up meeting.